Have you lost hope in the possibility that one day you'll be able to express yourself freely and fully, that you'll be able to say anything and everything that you want to say when you want to say it? Have you kind of lost hope that that's possible? My name is Michael Williams, and this is the second part in a series of videos, so I want to strongly encourage you to go back and watch the first video. We'll have a link for that video somewhere in or around this video that you can understand what we're talking about. And the topic is, there is hope. So the first question was, is there hope? Is there hope for you to be able to freely and fully express yourself? And so in that video, I said there is hope, and I explained one of the reasons why. So we talked about two conditions, right, that when they're present, you can be confident to know that, hey, you know what, this is possible, I can do this. And the first condition was that you believe that it's possible, right? Because if you don't believe it's possible for you to improve your speech, and it doesn't matter whether you speak too fast, whether you struggle with anxiousness, whether you stammer or stutter, whatever it is, if you believe that it's possible for you to change that somehow, then guess what? You're already halfway there. You're already halfway. But if you don't believe it's possible, then it doesn't matter what you do, you'll always snap back to, I knew that this wasn't going to work. I'm stuck with this for the rest of my life. So the first one is that you believe, or that you're confident that it's possible. And we talked about the reasons why. Neuroplasticity. So go back and watch that video. But in this video, we're going to talk about some of the underlying beliefs that can hold you back. And we're also going to talk about the second condition. Okay. The second condition involved in this. And we'll just tell you what that is now. Consistency. Right. Consistency is the second condition. So there's two conditions that are very important for you to have hope. One is confidence, belief, yes, this is possible. The second one is consistency. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. But we're going to look at some of the unconscious beliefs that we have that often prevent us or keep us from being consistent, from sticking with it long enough to see results. So let's just run through a couple of the underlying beliefs that people have about themselves or about their speech that can keep us from being consistent. And we'll talk about what consistency is and why that's important. But let's first look at some of these underlying beliefs. Well, one belief that we kind of addressed in the last video is that whatever it is that's going on with you, whatever the challenge is, it's permanent. There's nothing you can do about it. It's hereditary, it's neurological, it's physiological, it's a disability, it's a disease, it's a disorder, and it's permanent. There's nothing that you can do about it. So we kind of debunked that in the last video where we talked about neuroplasticity, neurogenesis, how our brain can actually go out, even if there's brain damage. People who've had strokes have been able to regain their speech and the use of their body. Our brains are able to regenerate nerve cells in certain conditions. And our brains can go out and recruit from other areas brain cells, right, neurons, to say, okay, this part is damaged, this part isn't working right, let's borrow the functionality in this area of our brain to help us with this one. So we talked about that, and you can do your own research. In this video, we're talking about some of the beliefs. Sometimes these beliefs are unconscious, right? That can hold a person back. And so one of those beliefs is that it's permanent. There's nothing I can do about it. Okay. But if you believe that even if it's neurological, which it is, right? Everything starts there. It's neurological, it's hereditary, it's physiological. Okay. No matter what the source, but if you believe that our brains are able to grow, our brains are able to train, we can rewire, we can retrain our brains. If you believe that, then you're going to have a greater degree of hope that there's something you can do to change the way that you speak, the way that you feel, the way that you think. Does that make sense? So starting with this belief, starting with the hope, starting with the fact that you can do something to change your brain physically, gives you a huge amount of hope and confidence, okay? So that you can say, all right, if I find the right process, if I find the right system to transform my speech, all I have to do is be consistent with it, stick with it, right? All right, so one belief is believing that it's permanent. Another belief is believing that your situation is different, right? Some people say, well, that person, for example, if we use stuttering, well, that person didn't really stutter that bad. Well, my situation is different. My brain is different, right? So we believe that our situation somehow, that our brain somehow is different from everyone else's. And to a degree it is, right? Everyone has their own situation. Everyone's body and brain is distinct from another person's. But the fact of the matter is, you and I are very much alike. We're very similar to other people in many different ways. The function, like how our brains function and so forth, is pretty much the same as the way someone else's brain functions, okay? So when you say, or when you think, or when you believe that your situation is so vastly different that nothing's going to work for you, and if that's an unconscious belief, then guess what? Nothing will work for you. Nothing will work for you. You'll try something, but that belief sitting beneath the surface will say, yeah, but. Has that ever happened to you where you just thought, you know what? I'll try this, but probably not going to work. My situation is different. I've seen that. I've heard it. Maybe even I've done it before myself. So the second belief that can hold us back is believing that your situation is different. What's another belief? Well, I'm gonna go down to what I call a micro belief, a micro level belief, and it's this. Often, one of the things that people can do to improve their speech dramatically is just learning how to slow down and take their time. Slow down and take their time. So, a belief that a person may have is, if I slow down, people are not going to wait for me. People are going to be impatient, or no one else around me is speaking slow. And so therefore, if I speak slow, it's going to look and sound strange or weird. Or if I speak slow, I'm not going to sound as intelligent as my colleagues and as my peers. People are going to think I'm slow. So this is just like a bundle of beliefs about slowing down. People are not going to wait for me. People are going to be impatient, and maybe some people will be. It's going to look and sound strange. It's going to feel strange. That's not who I am. My friends and family don't speak that way. I'm not going to look and sound as intelligent as my colleagues who speak fast, right? So these are all beliefs. So even if you know that slowing down is going to help give you control, you're going to feel more relaxed, feel more calm, that you may actually, in fact, sound more intelligent because you're able to articulate your thoughts smoothly and clearly and confidently. Even if you thought that, but if there was the underlying belief that, but, you know, if I do that, it's just not going to sound right. If you believe that, then no matter what you think, no matter what you intend, it's always going to pull you back. It's going to stop you from slowing your speech down. Okay. So often when I'm working with my clients, I say, okay, let's talk about how you can slow your speech down. There's lots of ways, there's various ways, and we have some very specific techniques and strategies to help you slow down. Even when we talk about those, sometimes we have to look at an underlying belief that when they try to implement slowing down, something just says, nah, I don't really feel like that. I don't want to do it. Sometimes they're not even aware that that's what's going on. They don't even remember to tell themselves to slow down. Why? Because there's a belief that says, no, you really shouldn't do that. You probably don't want to do that, right? This is very important because it's one of those micro beliefs that can be unconscious or could be semi-conscious, where you kind of feel, you hear yourself saying it, right? But it's just beneath the surface. You just get the sense, I really don't want to do that. So Once you understand that it's there, then you can address it. You can do something about it. And that can allow you to get the traction that you need to move forward, right? To be more consistent. So there are lots of different beliefs, but we just talked about 3 today. One of them being the belief that slowing down is not a good thing. It's not necessarily a good thing. Even if you think, right, consciously, yes, I know I probably should slow down, but then there's a belief that, well, no, you shouldn't. And then another belief is that, well, somehow my situation is different. This is probably not going to work for me. And then there's the belief that I don't even know if this is even possible, right? This is something that's permanent, right? So if you believe that, then you're not going to be consistent. You're not going to get the traction that you need, right? You're not going to get the traction. So let's talk about consistency. When we say consistent, what do we mean? Well, we're talking about doing something in a repeated manner, or repeating a behavior or series of thoughts or actions over and over and over again, right? So repeating the same behavior over and over and over, repeating the same thought, repeating the same action over and over. So when we look at transforming our speech, Pro90d gives you a very specific, systematic process to transform your speech. And your job is to repeat the activities every single day, all throughout the day, over and over and over again, right? And that when you do that, what you're doing is you're changing the way that you speak, right? You're changing or replacing the way that you speak with a newer, smoother way. And you're replacing your mindset, the way that you think, and you're also transforming your identity. That is who you see yourself, who you believe you are as a speaker. So you're changing all those things. Pro90d has developed a systematic process that addresses each of those areas in a holistic manner, so that when you are consistent, when you repeat those behaviors on a moment-to-moment basis, you begin to change your brain, right? To literally, physically change your brain, which changes the outcome. It changes the results. It changes your behavior. It changes how you speak, how you feel. You speak smoother, you speak clearer, you feel calmer, you feel and are more confident. Okay? Does this make sense? So this can only happen, this is the second condition, this can only happen when you're consistent. When you're consistent. Now, what can stop consistency? What can prevent you from being consistent? Well, those underlying beliefs. When you have those beliefs and you hit what we call a dip, right? So let's say you start out on a program. This is very, very normal. It's a normal cycle. You start out on a program, and because of the placebo effect, very excited, you believe that this is going to work. So you're excited. And so all of a sudden you hit this peak and you're like, wow, I'm speaking smoothly. I didn't anticipate anything. I was able to go out and have conversations, make presentations. But then all of a sudden, and this can take sometimes days or it can take weeks, you hit a bump and you go into a dip, right? You go into a dip. And when you hit that dip, that's when all the doubts start flooding back in. Uh-oh, I was doing everything I was supposed to do, but now this is stopped working. It's not working anymore. My situation is different. I figured this is permanent. It's not going to work. Well, this is very normal. I see this cycle all the time. What you must do when that happens is, if the premise upon which you started the program or you started the process was that I can change my brain, right? If I'm consistent and I stick with this, I can change my brain, I can change the way that I speak, I can change my thinking and so forth, then that premise is still there, right? It's still true. If it was true then, it's true now. So your experience has changed temporarily. So what you have to do here is you actually have to lean in to the dip, right? You lean in to this dip so that you can come back out of it. So here you want to Actually lean into this thing, right? Lean into it. And when you lean into the dip, it means you continue to be consistent. You give yourself feedback. You say, okay, what do I need to change here? What am I not doing enough of? What am I doing too much of? And this is where the coaching comes in, because sometimes there are blind spots. There are things that you just don't know. There are things you don't know that you don't know, right? And so when you're working with someone one-on-one, they can see those blind spots. They can see ahead because they've been there personally, and they've taken other people there. They've guided other people. And so they can say, aha, work on this, or continue to work on that, or no, don't do that. So working with someone one-on-one can make the process faster and easier. But let's just say you can't afford to work with someone one-on-one, or you're just not ready yet. Well, working by yourself can work as well, right? You just have to follow the system, trust the process, lean into it, and invariably what happens is you come back out at a higher level, right? So usually what I see happen is people start here, then they hit a dip, and if they lean in, they come back out of it at a higher level. And they may have another dip, and then they come back at a higher level, and they come back, right? So if you believe the process is going to work for you, that it absolutely will work, so you have to select the right process, the right system, because if you lean into the wrong system and you keep doing the same things over and over, you'll get the same results. So if you get a system that's not holistic, that only addresses one part of your speech, it may be temporary, it may not work. You have to get something that's holistic and science-based. I did an interview yesterday, and they said, well, why do so many doctors and scientists and engineers choose your program? Well, the reason is because of the scientific basis, the systematic approach. These are scientists, these are doctors, they understand the science. And so they say, wow, we can see that this is true. We've done our own research and we know that this is true. And so they choose Pro90d. So when you go through this process, but you lean into it, then what happens is you are allowing yourself to get traction, and you are being more consistent, and you're giving yourself the opportunity to see results. Does that make sense? But if you don't lean into it, then what happens is you begin to backtrack. You begin to say, well, guess what? It's not working. My situation is different. No, I don't want to slow down. And you start going back the other way. Okay. So I hope this video has been helpful for you in looking at first the two conditions that must be met, right? So that first condition was that you have to believe, right? You have to be confident that in fact you can change your brain. And the second condition is consistency. And then we're going to do at least one more video where we talk about some other things related to hope, related to the fact that there is hope for you, and I'm giving you some of the reasons why. In this video, we talked about the second condition, and we talked about some of the underlying beliefs that people have that can hold them back. This is permanent. My situation is different. No, I don't want to slow down. And so in the Pro90d speech system, we give you very, very specific strategies to address those thoughts, those underlying beliefs that you have that, no, I don't really want to slow down, or this is not for me. Well, yes, it is for you. Your brain works pretty much the same as everyone else's. And so this can work for you. It's worked for thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of other people, and it can work for you too. And as long as you believe that, then what you'll do is filter in all of the information that supports that. If you don't believe that, you will filter out any information that supports that and filter in information that says, this won't work for me. This isn't working. See, I'm still doing this. You just filter in that and filter out all of the supporting information, all the constructive information, all the encouraging information. Does this make sense? So your job now is to watch this video, to really think about this and decide what are going to be your next steps. Do you believe it's possible for you to transform your speech and your life? The longer you wait, the more challenging this can become, because you start to develop your identity around your speech and who you are, and you start to really dig into and solidify that belief. And it becomes extremely difficult the longer you live, and the longer you live with this, it becomes extremely difficult to change it. What I'm telling you is that if you want to experience a life that's freer, where you literally feel free, that's more peaceful, stuttering, stammering, speaking too fast, struggling with your speech, struggling to communicate, can be physically stressful. It's not good for your health. It can affect your social life. You probably won't communicate and conversate with people as much as you'd like. There are people that I'm working with who've said, I have better conversations, longer conversations, deeper conversations with my mother, with my father, with my family members, with my wife, with my kids, now that my speech is opened up, now that I'm freer. Imagine that. Imagine having a better social life, better relationships, a better career, earning more money, earning what you're worth, or at least getting close to it, right? Because now you're able to articulate your thoughts. People are able to see what's inside your mind. They can see it, they can hear it, because now you can communicate more freely and more fully what you're thinking. You can do all of this. It's possible for you. I've seen it before. I've helped other people do it. I'm helping people do it every single day, and you can do it too. So watch this video and then decide what you want to do next. Start with a self-study, or if you want to accelerate the process, if you want to make it faster and easier, work with me one-on-one. Thank you so much. My name is Michael Williams, and I'll see you in the next video.